Here we have the Vado tourniquet pouch. Just like the Spanker EDC pouch, one of my main problems is that it was made in China. So if you're looking to support US brands, this is not for you. But this thing is incredibly cheap. You can get these for less than $10. Now, again, you're gonna get what you pay for, right? So right here in the front, you have some loops here, right? If you wanna weave something through here, you have your loop fabric for your Velcro for the hooks to go on top of here. You got your pull tab, right? And then you have the actual pocket for your tourniquet. This is made from an Oxford fabric. I could not get exactly how much or how dense this stuff was, but it is made from an Oxford fabric. But I do have some major issues with this. But first we'll just kind of run through it. So on the back, you got your buttons, right? You guys know that I am not a very big fan of buttons because buttons do break, and whenever buttons break, your kit is pretty much useless for the purpose in which you need it. Now these buttons feel like they're in here pretty good, but for how long, right? You know, buttons break all the time. They break all the time. So I'm actually very anxious with the amount of buttons on this thing. It worries me, especially in a real life kind of tactical scenario. I would hate for this thing to get broken, and now there's a problem, right? Now, apart from the amount of buttons on this thing, another huge problem that I have is the quality of the stitching. Numerous problems with the stitch quality. Even right here, right? You got stitching that's literally hanging out, right? Those are fail points, right? These are fail points in the stitching, right? Let's check this in. There's another one right here, right? That's another fail point in the stitching. So this right here, there's 3 separate fail points, right? And then on the back here, this stitch is actually raised up as well. Now it's not torn, but it is lifted up, which is a potential issue. This one appears to be good on this end. There's another one here where it's lifted up, another potential fail point. Stitch lifted up there. You got a nice little chunk of stitches being lifted up right here. And I mean, that's one of the common themes. There's a piece that just came off. But one of the common themes with this thing is the stitching having issues. And then even looking at this right here, I can tell you right now, with this strap right here, I mean, you can see it if I'm pulling on it. I could 110% tear this, no problem. Like I could 110% tear this thing off. I'm not even remotely questioning it. Yeah, so huge problem with that. Huge QA problem. Now these guys right here might be a little bit more secure, but I can't tell you how much because I can't see the actual stitching itself. But what I can say is that there's a lot of things that are looped in here, and so if one of these things were to tear, it would be a catastrophic failure in this kit because you're going to lose your stitching on everything else in here. Yeah, it's a huge problem. Like I said, this thing makes me anxious actually, seeing this thing. All the buttons on it, which are potential fail-safes themselves, or failure points themselves, but then also the amount of lifted up stitching that's on this thing. There's some more right there on the edge. Got some lifted up stitching. And then this right here, I guess they tried to just put it in the Velcro, but look at this. That's a main piece right there, right? And then, yeah, I mean, you can actually see how it's actually mixed with the rest of that fabric in there. But this is a main stitch right here, and it was literally just folded up in there. So huge problem, right? That's a fail point. They do have these Velcro tabs here, and again, there's more, right? Lifted up stitching. I just pulled on it, so I could probably unravel this thing if I really wanted to, right? Another fail point in this thing. There's one right there on the back, another fail point, right? Lifted up stitching. Now the way this thing is designed, it's meant to hold your trauma shears in the back of here, right? You put your trauma shears in the back. Once you set them in, take your tab, and you're holding your trauma shears in the back just like that of your tourniquet, right behind it. I did see a lot of complaints about this just because on the end of your trauma shears you have that little nub, so that nub apparently was tearing in here, and just to show you, if you can see that, there's tons of lifted up stitching in there, right? Look at all that. And this stuff right here is what is holding on to this primary strap, right? That's what's holding this thing in place. All of that lifted up fabric. Huge problem. There's another one right there, another fail point, right? And it seems like a very trivial thing to point out, but whenever you're using this stuff in a real situation, these things have to be, you know, they're torn off, they're ripped off, whatever. They're exposed to the elements. They have to be high quality in order to be reliable. And of course you have your main pouch right here. This is probably my favorite thing about this thing, and probably the only thing I really like about it, is that the pouch in here can fit pretty much any style tourniquet. And there's another fail point with the stitching right there. It can fit pretty much any style tourniquet, and you can put a marker right here on the side, which you should have a marker with your tourniquet at all times. It's just the fact that this is Chinese made, right? That's the first problem. But the second problem is the terrible quality of stitching. That's a huge problem. If you were to buy something like this, I can pretty much guarantee you that if you use this in a real situation, that you are going to be buying another one, right? You will be buying another one, unless you're gonna stitch it up yourself, especially with the back right here. That is incredibly negligent as far as I'm concerned, whenever we're talking about medical gear, because this thing can easily get torn. And then it's, you know, catastrophic failure of your tourniquet holder. And, you know, God forbid that this thing falls off your belt or falls off your kit whenever you're running or something, right? Or if it gets caught onto something and it tears, whatever the case is. But I'm going to show you how a cat tourniquet fits in here. So here we have my cat tourniquet. Always have a Sharpie with your tourniquet. And again, it does easily fit the tourniquet, right? I mean, it definitely fits, no problem. And then you can put your Sharpie there on the side, you know, so it definitely fits. And that's how it is packed in there. But again, regardless of how comfortable or how snug the tourniquet fits in this pouch, it does not negate the fact that you have so much terrible stitching in this pouch, right? Or in this tourniquet holder. And then of course, again, your buttons here on the back. So just be mindful when you're shopping for tourniquet holders. Again, this thing is less than 10 bucks and you're paying less than 10 bucks. You're definitely getting less than $10 worth of quality, right? Whereas you could just get a NAR tourniquet holder for about 35 bucks, right? 35 bucks for a NAR tourniquet holder, right? So I would say to go with the North American Rescue on that. I'm sure there's other American brands that have great quality tourniquet holders. But yeah, I would not go with this thing. Yeah, I think that if you're trying to save money and you go with this, just go with the more expensive tourniquet holder, right? Or just find one that's, you know, maybe 15 bucks or something, you know, but this one just is not it. I could see this thing catastrophically failing, and yeah, one of the first things you want to have in your kit is a tourniquet for bleed stop. This little back here, your strap for your shears. There's a failure in that stitch right there, and look at how thin that is. And actually, if you look at it, I can actually pull it and you can see the gap in right there. You see that? There's a gap right there. So literally, it's already coming off of, look at that. It's already coming off of your back piece here. And this is what you're gonna get over time, right? It's gonna slowly fall apart until something like this piece right here snaps. Then that piece snaps, then the pieces underneath that, right? So yeah, I would not recommend this. I would actually recommend to stay away from these and to stay away from this brand. Now, this is my first encounter with this brand, but again, it's a Chinese brand, and yeah, you know, I would not recommend this at all. So I recommend you actually stay away from this. We will be reviewing more gear in the future, so go ahead and drop a like. Go ahead and subscribe and check us out on Patreon. All of our links will be in the description. Thank you all so much for your support. God bless, stay safe, and as always, stay sanctified and stay away from low quality medical.